Hello guys and welcome back for day 6. This is the continuation from the last few days where we're just going to go through the next couple of months of transactions, categorize them and insert them into our margins. Okay, so we can see here, I think we've probably done 5 or 6 months worth now, and you've ended up with margins looking like this. They probably will round out looking or end up looking quite similar, but obviously we've got to do the whole year, and that gives you a really good impression of where you stand with your company and then how to get involved, how to use that to get your pricing absolutely spot on. So what we're going to do now is, I think, what did we get up to yesterday? I think we did May. Yeah, we finished up the end of May. So what we're going to do is we're going to do June and July today. So go into your downloaded bank statements for June and July. If you've got them all together in one spreadsheet, that's great. But if they are separate documents for each month, then obviously you're just going to have to work around that. But in my example, I've got into it and simplified it before this just for the ease of the video. So I'm going to scroll down to June and just grab all those transactions up until July. So it's been nice and slow this morning. Oh, too far. That's classic. Okay, here we go. We're finally there. Really slow this morning, oh my word. Okay, so 1st of June, there we go. Highlight all the relevant columns, which in my example is 4, and scroll down all the way to July, same as before. In fact, I have gone one too many. And then we're just going to insert that into your margin calculator spreadsheet. So pop that in there. Again, the only job we then need to do is, if you've got all your information in one column, which I know a lot of banks tend to do that, what you'll need to do is just separate them into 2 different columns. So for example, if this 980 was actually in this column here as a minus number, so minus 980, you just need to transfer that across and get rid of the minus sign. And we need all the numbers to be positive to make this work, really. So that's the first one. So the first of June is income, and as we said, income, we don't put anything in the category, so it doesn't need categorizing. And everything else is fairly straightforward. What I'll do is I'll quickly just rattle through as many of these as I can while you're watching, just so you can see me doing it as well. And anything difficult, anything different, I'll bring it up. So most things, like you said, marketing, it goes under as an expense. Plants, materials, anything that's used to actually construct the project is materials. Things like fuel are an expense, very straightforwardly. Fencing is a material. And we're just going to go through everything for the next couple of months just to make sure that we've got everything that we need, okay? Right, so expenses. Yeah, as we mentioned yesterday, the reason we do it in this way is because it's actually a really useful bit of information for your company to have access to. You need to price up according to all of your costs. It's not all of your sort of potential costs or what ideally you'd like your costs to be. The only way that you can make sure that you're making a profit on every job is to include the costs of the running costs of your business in your pricing and in your margins. Without that, what you end up doing is you end up under pricing. So the profit you think you're making on a job, if you haven't included your overheads such as buying stationery or your phone bills, or most of the time fuel is included, you sort of put a rough idea of your fuel costs for each job. So that's not one that's missed, but it's important that everything like that is actually included. So this is a really good way to do it, because it means you won't have missed anything. You've gone through every single individual transaction and you calculate that into profit margins, which means when it actually comes time to make a profit, you've actually priced up including absolutely everything. So it's a really good way to do it. It just, as you can see, requires a little bit of work up front to get it all done. You can probably do it in one sitting and get this all worked out in one sitting, but don't feel like you have to. This is just a nice way to get it all done without it feeling like it's really interrupting what you're doing as a business. So literally, it's between 5 and 20 minutes a day once you get into the swing of it. So it's a nice way to do it, and it means at the end of it, you're going to have your profit margins worked out that are going to be super easy for you to use. So we're almost done with today already. Just the last few things to include. Expenses. And then bookkeeping. So things like bookkeeping, for example, it's not project related. They are just costs unassociated with the job that need to be included. So if you have bookkeeping and accountancy fees, technically you need to price for those in a quote that you submit to a client. They need to be included, because if you don't, and the price you submit has X amount of profit on it, any cost that you haven't built into the price, such as advertising, bookkeeping and accounting, all that sort of stuff, if that's not included, that's just going to eat at that profit. So when you think you're making a 15% profit margin, for example, you think there's £1,000 in the job for you, whatever it might be. By the time you've taken out all the unassociated costs, so all those background costs, you might have lost 5-10% of your margin. Actually, there's very little left in the job once all those things are included in the end of year account. So doing it this way just helps you make sure that everything's caught and everything's included in your profit margins. Okay, so the next thing, as we did on the last few days, we need to include everything into these formulas to make sure that we haven't missed anything. So it's just June and July today. So we go down to June, and anything with materials from here onwards, excuse me, that's wrong. Anything with materials we need to include in that box. So nice and easy. You just hit the plus sign and click the box, plus this one, plus this, plus this, plus this one. Any more materials? Yep, plus that. More. No more materials. So that's it. Hit enter. We're going to do the same for everything. So VAT, there were no VAT payments that I saw. There was no profit. The owner's pay, there was some. So we need to make sure that we include all of those. The first few months there weren't any. But now the owner of this fake business has started to take some withdrawals. So you need to make sure they're included in your margins as well, because you need to price up for your own money as well. So here we go. Every one of those. So hit the plus and click anything with owner's pay next to it, and that's included. Tax, there was no personal tax payments made. Wages, again, there was there's always a few wages. Now let's go down to June. Straight away, there's a wage. Any more? Yeah, obviously I'd be very surprised if there wasn't a few more on a monthly basis. Get those in there. In we go, in we go, in we go. And the last one at the bottom. So that's wages all done. And then what we're looking for is any expense, which again, you can see from the formula is by far the biggest one, because these are all your small day-to-day transactions. So little bits here and there, as well as your slightly larger things such as fuel and whatnot. They're going to be the biggest volume of transactions. Okay, so they might not be the most money. The materials might just sneak it as the biggest expense, but they're certainly going to be the most common. So, interest, that's an expense. Insurance is an expense. Any bits and bobs, stationery, marketing, whatever it is, these are going to be quite common, as well as things like fuel, which you're going to use on a regular basis. So, actually, I've noticed a mistake there. I've actually put plants down there above as an expense rather than a material. So we will do this, because otherwise it will throw our formulas out. It might be a nice example just to show you actually on double checking that your numbers add up. So get those all in there. Any expense, click the plus sign, click the box. Plus sign. On every single one. Overcharge, storage fees, any expense. No, couldn't last forever, could it? No mistakes. Right, so I might have just lost all of that, which is incredibly annoying. Oh no, we're fine. Oh, we're not fine. We're not fine. Okay, so this is very fiddly, and we're gonna have to do it all again to make sure we've got everything. So it's really important. Click that plus sign before you click the next box, because otherwise that happens and you lose your entire formula. Okay, so keep these going. Hit the plus sign, which is now obviously clearly very important because you lose all the work that you've done. It's probably why it's not a bad idea to do it on a month-to-month basis, because what you're going to end up with is a huge formula in one go. And if you were to do what I just did, and you'd done a whole year's worth in a row, you'd lose every single thing that you did. So it might not be a bad idea to do it on a month-to-month basis. Okay, so get those all in there. And the beauty of it doing it this way is that it only needs to be done once, and then you kind of got your starting point from there, and everything can be improved towards specific targets, which we'll go over later in the future. So this is kind of your ground level that you're going to work from. Once you've got these established, everything else becomes a different kind of game altogether. You just make sure that this is your baseline for everything that you do. So let's get that in there. Keep going. Plus. It's always nice when a mistake takes up more time. And I think from memory, there was a plant that we categorized as the wrong thing. So we're going to go up to that one there. So that's the one that we don't want. C167. So we're just going to remove that from the formula, and then I will show you what I mean by. So add those all together. Oh, no. There's an error in that formula somewhere. So these are all the things that that can go wrong, that I guess are going wrong. Can't actually. Okay, there we go. So the plus sign at the end. So make sure you've not put a plus, which is a habit because you always put plus and then click the next one. But make sure there's nothing in the end there, and it will pop out and you'll see. So again, this is what this checker's for. We can see here that something's been missed because the total outgoings are more than the total of the categories that we've summed up here. And that is very small in this example. It's about, what's it, £31, something like that. So what it is we've missed out, or we've mislabeled the plants as expenses when we know full well that they are a material cost. So we'll change that to materials. And what that also means we need to do is add that onto the materials total. So we go to here, add that on. It was C167. So we go down here, we add that on, hit enter, and then those two numbers, they should be exactly the same. And they are. Happy days. So that's that one done. You can see again, these margins are slowly adjusting every month. The expenses are now slightly more than the materials, and they'll likely flip-flop depending on the time of the year, I guess. VAT, if there's no VAT bill, this will kind of come down, but you'll get a good idea of what you're paying in your VAT. That's why we do it over the course of a whole year and 4 VAT payments. Owners pay, see how much you've taken out and everything like that. So these numbers will change as we do more and more and more. And there's a couple more a couple more months to do. I think it's probably, we got August, September, October, November, December, 5 more months to do. We'll get them done in the next couple of days. December's normally quite quick, so there's normally less transactions once we break up for Christmas. But yeah, let's just keep going and keep pushing through. Any questions in the meantime, like I said, I'm always available. So just give us a shout on comments on YouTube if that's where you see it, or send me a message on Facebook if that's where you come across it. I'm happy to help. So just give me a shout and I'll be able to answer any questions that you've got. And alternatively, always remember, if this is something that you're struggling with, or you can't find the time to do it yourself, which is normally the most common thing, just give me a shout and we can do this for you. This is part of the service that we offer. we can do all this and get this all set up for you. It normally takes us a couple of days to get this all done, and then it's all done in the background for you. Okay, so this is all going to be really helpful for you to know. So I would fully recommend that you kind of follow along and really take this for what it is, and use it as a bit of a learning tool to try and understand why financial analysis is so important in business. But if you don't have the time, if you really can't find the time to get this done for yourself, again, just give me a shout. There'll be a link in the description below, or you can direct message me on Facebook if that's where you've come across it. And I'll get this all set up for you. So one of our analysts will sit down with you and they will go through this all for you without any work from yourself. Obviously, we need your bank statements, everything sending over so we can get this done, but we can guide you through the whole process. And at most, it's going to take an hour of your time, at absolute most, and then we can have this all running in the background for you to use as you need to. Okay, so I'll leave that with you. We'll see you tomorrow for day 7. But in the meantime, if you've got any questions, like I said, just give me a shout and we'll be happy to help. All right, cheers, guys.